The Little Mermaid has been all the talk over the past few weeks, and today we're going to see how it performed in the box office. I'm Rosemary Miller here with Marisa Dellatto, an entertainment reporter here at Forbes, and she's going to tell us how The Little Mermaid performed in its opening weekend. Marisa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you tell us, what are the numbers?
Premiered at #1 at the domestic box office with an opening of 118 million, which is very large. It's a very solid opening, especially for a movie like this that's been promoted and amped for so long and coming from such a big studio like Disney. For Memorial Day weekend, it's really going to mark the start and kick off the summer movie season. If you look at last year, the biggest movie of Memorial Day weekend was Top Gun: Maverick, which had set a new record for domestic openings during Memorial Day weekend with $160 million. Obviously, Little Mermaid is less, but very, very different demographics for those two movies. So I would say it's definitely solid, and the excitement is only going to keep building throughout the next few weeks as we enter into the warmer months.
Okay, so you're saying excitement is going to keep building, but I've seen a lot of reports out there about review bombing happening with this movie. Can you talk about that?
Unfortunately, because the star of the movie, Halle Bailey, who's an exceptional performer, is a Black woman, a lot of she, as well as the movie overall, has been subjected to racism and complaints that just wouldn't be happening if she was not Black, and that's just it. Unfortunately, because of that, angry reviewers have taken to online sites like IMDb and have started spamming it with negative one-star reviews. IMDb actually said it was going to review its review process and to start accounting for this unusual activity because it's not a real reflection of how audiences are reacting to the film. And when you actually look at how real people who saw the movie are reacting to it, like on CinemaScore, it has an A grade, which is very hard to accomplish. So unfortunately, because of racism, that's happening.
To your knowledge, has this happened with any other movies before?
It has. I mean, it's something that this is unfortunately an online tactic that trolls will take, particularly sometimes when there is a gay character, or when there is a character who is part of a more vulnerable minority community. People who are against those communities will sometimes protest the film and its mainstream acceptance in this way. The Little Mermaid is obviously just a huge example of that, given the pedestal that it's on, being that it's a tentpole Disney princess film. Halle Bailey has taken over the role, so to speak, from a white cartoon. And so unfortunately, this is a reaction that is happening, and it definitely exposes a flaw in the way that movies and TV shows alike are reviewed, because you don't have to prove that you've seen the movie to post a review. And that's the same for businesses on Yelp. That's the same for, everything that this process is used for.
So do you think this movie has legs overseas?
I think it will really depend on how American audiences continue to react to it. And by audiences, I mean people that have actually seen the film. From those who have this, I've seen so many videos on TikTok of people just reacting, little girls crying, so excited, women my age who didn't get to see the first Little Mermaid in theaters, but grew up on it, rushing and celebrating. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm so excited. I think while the film has not been as beloved internationally as it has in the US, if the excitement and it continues to stay very relevant in the US, I think that will carry over. I don't think it will grow in any way, unfortunately, but I think it will not just take a nosedive, if that makes sense.
Hmm. And I'm curious, kind of going back to Halle Bailey being a Black mermaid, do you think the movie would have came in at what, about 118 million
Mhm.
opening weekend if she were white? If it was what the audience expected?
That's really hard to say. I can't, I would like to say that it wouldn't matter and that people are just excited to see The Mermaid based on their talent. Unfortunately, I'm sure there were people, especially if they are review bombing, who chose not to see the movie because they are unhappy with the choice of the titular Little Mermaid. Maybe people would have seen it more, but I don't think that's a reason that Disney shouldn't have cast her. She was cast because the casting directors believed she was best for the role. And unfortunately, I don't think that should be taken into account from Disney's side. Are we going to lose money because we know people might have a problem with this mermaid? No, I think she's a fantastic choice. And unfortunately, it's a sad reality of what's going on right now in our culture.
Right. So, do you believe Little Mermaid can be profitable in a year?
I think so. I think it's really going to depend on the young kids who see this movie. I mean, that's who Disney is making it for. That's who's going to be extremely excited about it and make their parents play it again and again and again, who saw it in theaters, who are going to stream it online on Disney Plus, who are going to have Little Mermaid themed birthday parties just like I did. And that's going to, continue this. And that's who's going to want to go see any attractions at the parks. So I think it's really going to be that if they can capture, which I believe they did, that magical excitement of that younger group, that's going to continue to be a classic. And obviously, it's very hard for these live action remakes to come close to capturing the magic that the cartoons did, that again we grew up on. But I think for a new generation, particularly those who didn't see themselves represented or haven't seen themselves represented in Princess Disney films overall in the past, they're going to be really excited about this and keep it going.
So, while The Little Mermaid was number one, could you tell me about the movies that came in second and third ranks?
Yes, in a very not very close second, we had Fast X, and then followed by Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as well as the Super Mario's Bro movie, who all I feel like are, very different audiences are seeing those movies than maybe who showed up to see The Little Mermaid. Um, and there's again continuing the box office success of IP that we're already familiar with, whether that is Super Mario Bros. That's something we've known for years. Guardians and Fast X are new additions to very beloved franchises. And even The Little Mermaid, I mean, that's not, an entirely new concept to us. That's all, it's continuing this trend of what's successful at the box office is stuff audiences already have a level of comfortability with.
So, people aren't willing to risk their money on something that they don't really know anymore, going to the movies?
Not exactly. And maybe it's not people aren't willing to risk their money. It's studios might not be willing to risk their money producing things that they know audiences don't already have an attachment to.
Hmm, that makes sense, especially with all the streaming platforms out there.
A lot of competition. Gotta give the people what they already like.
That's true. All right, Marissa, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Absolutely.